Hey friends, so here we are on the precipice of the Virgo full moon. It's going to be taking place on Saturday, February 24th at 4:31 a.m. Pacific. So you can figure out your time zone from there. And it's happening at 5 degrees 23 minutes Virgo. It'll be opposing the sun, obviously, because that's what a full moon does. The moon and the sun oppose each other. But it'll also be opposing Mercury and Saturn in Pisces. So those two planets are kind of flanking the sun. Not exactly equal degrees, but almost, okay? So we're going to be talking about the energies that are being called forth and how we can move with them, open to them, dance with them, be curious about them, create healthy boundaries with them as we move through this time. And so one thing to remember, and we were talking about this last night in the course that I've been teaching, the Cosmic Conservatory. I'll be offering that program again beginning in September. We'll go through the fall and winter. But basically, when we're experiencing any transit, so whether that's Pluto in Aquarius or something really quick like a full moon, we want to know how the planets in the sky at that particular moment are affecting us in our birth charts. So even though all of us are going to be experiencing this Virgo full moon on Saturday, some people Sunday, depending on where you are on the planet, even though we're all experiencing that, basically the way that that interacts with, that's a good word, and pulls out, draws forth energies of our own natal charts, within our own natal chart, that will give us a clue as to how we can be moving, dancing, breathing, opening to this transit in a really healthy way. So I think it's really important. There are so many astrology apps out there, and I like the ones, this is me, my preference, which it's good to cultivate your preferences, says one of my teachers. But basically, I like the ones that have a dial, because then you get to know what you can kind of learn the language of astrology in that way. And then you can see even astro.com, which is a free one that's been around a really long time. Even that will show you where the current planets are in relationship to your birth chart. So I think that's important stuff. Okay, so then you can see, what aspects of my chart are getting drawn out, are getting highlighted, are getting shown upon, are, an invitation for me to experience different facets of myself in a way that allow for maybe transformation or clarity or insight or deep rest, not with Virgo, but then we can see how we are being affected and how we can move with that transit really gracefully and skillfully, because that's the idea. And sometimes, we might know everything, technically, we might have a lot of ideas about how a transit is going to affect us. And then of course it's not that way. The mind has its ideas, and then maybe we get blindsided anyway. That kind of happened to me with transiting Saturn, moving over my natal south node and sun over this past year. Whew! But anyway, the universe is filled with all kinds of surprises, and I love that astrology gives us tools to really understand and move with these energies and dance with them in a particular way, and maybe in ways that we haven't even considered. Now, let's come back. So I want to frame this Virgo-Pisces axis. It's one of my favorites because in my natal chart, it's very full. And so I really feel like this is one of my favorite axes to work with. So let's talk about it. We're going to start with Pisces. Pisces archetypally is the mystic, the dreamer, the face dancer or chameleon. I also think of Pisces as the yogi or the yogini, depending. I mean, yogi can be for everyone. And yoga means to yoke or to bring together. It's like yoking oxen together with the yoke that you put on them. This is what yoga implies. So it implies efficient means, which Virgo really likes. So we're like doing the work, but we're making it more efficient. But it also implies, as those of you who've ever probably heard the one word yoga, it implies union. It implies a process of unification. But we're not going to just stop there. So the tradition I come from, it's like, yes, we want to experience that union with what are we bringing together? Lots of things. So here I would say mind, body, spirit, heart, soul. You can include all of that, all the different facets of our experience. Our sense of unique individuality with our sense of our divine self or our divine spark, our innate nature, our Buddha nature, our true self, our most authentic self. Any of those things, all the same, just different words for the same thing. And so that process, so it implies a process and a state, yoga. Okay, so Pisces seeks then to become unified in mind, body, spirit, heart, soul, divine awareness, all parts of the self connected to bigger reality. And Pisces inevitably connects with and perceives this divine reality. So it inevitably perceives of the deeper force that lives in all things. You can call that Shakti, you can call that Prana, you can call that Chi, you can call it, I think, Ka. There's so many different words for it. You can call it the force, right? And that would be accurate. And I would say, I like that one. Shakti is the animating life force that lives in all things and brings them to life, right? And so Pisces needs to experience this sense of connection with the spirit that moves in all things in order to then bring forth his or their own magic and to share that with the world in these really beautiful ways, to be an active part of the co-creation of reality. Super key. That's Tantra. It's part of Tantra. Okay. And so Virgo helps us to do that. So if we were just left with Pisces, we might all just be like drifting in the cosmic consciousness in this place where everything just is Sat. Everything just is. And here we are, blissed out because we are drifting, floating on the ocean of consciousness that lives within our very own hearts. Okay. And we're just there. And if it were just Pisces, that's where we would stay. And the great thing about Virgo is that it invites us into this world of form where it's like, well, let's actually do something helpful and useful with this energy. Let's bring it to life and into the world of manifestation so that we can be of service to people, so that we can, be fulfilled by the fact that, yes, we are these divine beings having a human experience, and we're going to make some really beautiful expressions, create some beautiful expressions, make some beautiful gifts, do some beautiful things with that. So Pisces, the cosmic dreamer, is just, out there. So if you're a Pisces like me, I'm a 12th house Pisces. If I don't have spirit practice on some level on the daily, doesn't really work for me. I have to have it. So if you're a Pisces, you need that too. As my teacher Stephen would say, meditation, not medication. Okay, because the shadow of Pisces seeks to escape this reality, this present reality. And so it has a hard time staying here, maybe. But guess what? when we're living a life that is connected in the ways that we're talking about, unified, right, in which we are sensing and feeling and moving with the bigger force, the currents of life, then we don't feel like we need to escape it, because we are going with it. We're moving with it. It's flowing through us, as us, for us, as Baba Muktananda would say. So that's really key for Pisces. Now, Saturn is in Pisces, and it's conjunct the sun for this full moon. And Saturn is always going to take us to task. He is always going to ask us to get it together, kid. How are you not seeing this? He is a tough love kind of dad. And he's like, it's time. Are you there yet? Because I've shown you how to do this. You know, if you're going through Saturn return for 29 years, I've shown you this. Now, what are you outgrowing? Which habits, which behaviors, which parts of your life are you outgrowing? They don't work for you anymore. You do have to go through a process of, you know, grieving the loss of certain things. Your youth, Saturn, the dreams that you had in your youth, so that you can create new patterns and behaviors that are really aligned with who you are now. So there's a beauty in it. Saturn gives us spine and backbone and integrity. He's like, all right, get with it, do your work. And especially when it comes to Pisces, he's like, okay, have you, you know, maybe you've outgrown certain escapist behaviors that you have been participating in. We can escape into anything. Our phones, imagine that, right? So if you tend toward escaping into your phone, we can escape into sex, into food, into any substance. I even used to escape into my yoga practice. And I'm just like, no, I can't do anything. I'm just doing my practice. And it was all about the relationship I had with that. And of course, I worked with it and transformed that tendency. I'm like, oh no, I'll do my practice, but it's not an escape. Okay. So we can escape into anything. And Saturn says you have to let go of these old patterns and behaviors that aren't serving you anymore and create a healthy boundary. Create some, like this sense of integrity in yourself and how you are Piscesing, how you are connecting with the bigger flow of life and letting it move you, letting it inspire you. Because you, of course, even though we are all one, we are all also unique expressions of the one. And so we want that unique expression to come forth. But you have to connect with bigger reality in the ways that only you do, in order to get into that current and be in the flow of this divine reality. And it's your birthright. Sometimes it's not easy, because we all come in with certain karmic habits, epigenetic patterns, right? And if those are the things that we need to create healthy relationship with, then that'll be up for us during a Saturnian time. Okay? So there's Saturn. Now, I love how Mercury is sitting here on this full moon. So it's opposing the full moon. So it's sitting right on the sun, conjunct it pretty tightly. And Mercury is always going to invite us to a new insight, a new idea, a new way of seeing reality. And so when we are having healthy boundaries with our spirit practice, and meditating or doing yoga, tai chi, qigong, walking labyrinths, you know, doing a walking meditation, whatever it is, there are so many different ways that we can tune in to bigger reality. So many ways. But when we're doing that and we're choosing to have a healthy boundary with that, and I will say, like, if you're doing something fairly often, that's a practice, you know? If you're doing it every once in a while, that's not really a practice. Saturn wants us to make what really connects us with bigger reality a practice. Actually do it regularly. You're not just doing it like once a month or something. That's a different thing. We can have those rituals. When we talk about Virgo, we can have those rituals, new moon rituals, full moon rituals. Yes, that happens once a month. But Saturn wants us to get connected to our sacred practices so that we know who we are, not just who we are as an individual, as a person, but who we are at our core when it's in Pisces. Because Pisces is like your innate nature is so much, is so much more than you could ever imagine. Remember that. You are this amazing ocean of potential that lives in you. How do you connect with it? How do you bring it forth to life? We're going to talk more about that. But Mercury, when we do these practices, we have healthy boundaries around them. Mercury is like, oh, I just had an insight. I just had an amazing idea. We get a download because we're connecting with the bigger reality. If we don't take the time to do that, right, our lives might be filled with tasking so much that there's not the space for us to have a conversation with the divine. Mercury in Pisces is like, let's create space to have a conversation with the divine regularly, if you have that in your chart. And at least now, as we approach this full moon. Okay, so Mercury wants us to be curious and open. Let's shift our perception so that then we can share whatever ideas that we feel inspired to share with the world. All right, now let's come back to, so here are two themes or two ways of framing the theme that I really love of the Virgo Pisces axis. One is something we talk about in spirit tradition, like an Eastern spiritual tradition, and is being and becoming. So Virgo is the virgin, not virginal. So one who is sovereign unto herself, that's Virgo. And Virgo is the servant. She wants to be of service. Virgo is in shadow, the martyr. Okay, so we might know that aspect of this in ourselves or others, and that's okay. We just want to be aware of it so we can work with it skillfully. And this is an energy, so I think of it like this. Virgo wants to constantly and needs to constantly be tending to her own inner garden. This is what my astrology mentor and I, Nancy Fantazzi, talk about. So really being aware of the inner garden and knowing all the little details required to keep it thriving and humming and just expressing itself in the ways that it needs to, in the ways that are most aligned. And Virgo needs daily habits, daily practices, daily rituals that allow her to connect with this bigger reality again, and then how that reality moves in her. So I like to talk about Virgo's the perfectionist, and I love to talk about perfection from an Eastern lens. So the word perfection is also the word for fullness or wholeness, purnatva. And this word recognizes that the true nature of reality is whole. It's like that chant, Purnamadam, Purnamidam, Purnata Purna Udachate. So when you take the full, that's full, this full, you're full, I'm full. And when we take the full from the full, it is the full that remains. Virgo needs to have practices that allow her to sink into this knowing and into this reality so that then she can be of service in the way she's meant to be. Or so that he can, so that they can. I'm just saying she because Virgo tends to be, it's the only female zodiac of them all. technically, right? So let's just be clear about that. If Virgo is coming from a place of lack, which is the shadow of Virgo, then she's never going to feel full, and she can task over and over and over again, and it will never be enough. And she'll always get lost in these nitpicky details and micromanagerial BS that just doesn't work. So it really is a reorienting of awareness and perspective. So Virgo is about having these practices, daily rituals, and exercises that allow the energy, that allow someone to get connected with their own innate wholeness and fullness. The universe is not lacking in any way, shape, or form, and you are the universe in contracted form. So therefore you are not lacking in any way, shape, or form. You are full, abundantly so. Okay, it's just we've had so many ideas, human ideas, faulty misperceptions of reality that keep us thinking that we're not what we actually are, that we're not capable of all the things that we are. You are a magical being who's capable of so much more than just your mind would have you think, okay? So Virgo needs that time and space of connection regularly with the things that ground her. She's an earth sign into this knowing. And whether it is a yoga practice, or whether it is a little ritual of lighting candles, bringing in herbs and elements, lighting incense, whatever it is, as long as it serves to help Virgo connect with this place of, not I am enough. I'm more than enough. Like, but even that, I'm like, oh, but Pisces is going to invite us to even a sense of separate self isn't real. I'm just the divine having this experience in this moment, and I know what I am in a deeper way. That has nothing to do with an idea of who I think I am. If that's over your head, don't worry about it. Getting a little out there, but that's really important for this axis, because the ideas of who we think we are limit us. A belief of what we think we are limits us. And we don't want to be limited. Pisces wants us to remember that we are this divine life force, this flow of reality. And how do we bring that forth into the world? In practical ways, in useful ways, in ways that allow us to be of service to all of humanity and all of this reality. So if I had to sum that up, Pisces reminds us that we are so much more than what only our minds think. So when we connect with divine reality in all these meaningful ways, and then bring that forth through acts of service, we're doing the Virgo-Pisces axis. When we bring that forth in fulfilling ways that allow us to be useful and helpful and uplift the whole, we're doing the Virgo-Pisces axis, okay? Another thing, so I said the being and becoming. So the becoming, which is the Virgo, is just this constant honing and refining of how we are bringing forth the divine nature of who we are, how we are letting that shine through, okay? Virgo loves to hone and refine their gifts and crafts and skills. And again, we don't want to be coming from that place of lack, or it's like, oh, did I do it well enough? Let me try again. It's more like, oh, I love doing this. Oh, let's see what happens. Let me just do it again. Oh no, I'm just going to try it again. Oh, let me try it again. And it's just kind of this thing of like, okay, over and over and over and over again. And yeah, it can get a little OCD. Virgo can be a bit obsessive. I have a fair amount of it in my chart, so I get that. And so again, the Pisces heals it. It puts it in a context, how the details support the whole. That's the other thing I wanted to get to. So Virgo helps us to connect with all the details and how they support the whole. But we want to connect with the whole, the full, before we start doing the details, because sometimes we forget, like the human part of us, just if we're just in our minds or even just in our bodies and we're not connected to the bigger life force, we can forget and do all these details. Maybe we hurt ourselves if we're doing a practice. You know, I used to be so intense with my practice. I mean, I still have a good practice, but it's not intense like it was when I was 25, like obviously. And I would hurt myself sometimes because I wouldn't pause to actually connect with bigger reality. And as soon as I would just connect with the magic of the universe and then move, imagine that, it changed everything. So that's the idea here with the Virgo-Pisces axis. How are the details supporting the whole? And how do you connect with bigger reality in order to remember what service you're bringing forth into the world, and to do it in ways that are really fulfilling to you, not in ways that are keeping you stuck in this constant kind of hamster wheel. That's a good word. Because when we get obsessive about things, right, Virgo can go into that place, as I just mentioned, and when we get obsessive about things, it's really hard to pull ourselves back and reconnect with this bigger Piscean reality that I'm talking about. So we want to do our best to do that anyway, but if we begin that way, we started off that way, then it's easier for us to do this, what we call the spanda, the pulsation, where we lens out, we get so spacious that we're looking from behind our own sense of individuality, right? Awareness itself, like the first Shiva Sutra says, Chaitanyam Atma, consciousness or pure awareness is your innate nature. Your innate nature is consciousness or pure awareness. So when we get connected to that, then we can be super aware of how we are bringing that to life in the world in all the details and all the structured, beautiful ways that we can, the service-oriented ways that we can. Okay, so I hope that has provided a bit of clarity for you, being and becoming, how the details support the whole, letting go of old ways of being Pisces that don't really work, so that the real connection with the divine comes through, and being open to the insights that we have when we do connect with bigger reality, and how this can inform what we're doing here in our bodies, in our lives on a regular basis. Okay, so if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. So you can find me evolutionmedicine.ca or lilarasa.com, lilarasa.com. And you can also just send me an email, because I am really old school. Sometimes I mean, generally I'm going to get messages, email messages, before I get Instagram messages, because I'm pretty old school. lilarasa@gmail.com if you're going to do it that way. I hope you have a really beautiful Virgo full moon, and I hope you take time to really sit with the totality of who you are beyond who you think you are, so that you can bring that forth into the world in really beautiful and fulfilling, useful, practical, helpful ways. Okay, I'll see you next time.